Hi, I'm Wendy Lowy Sloan, and this is What's Up with Wendy's podcast. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I began my career in New York City as a television producer for talk show legends Phil Donahue and Geraldo Rivera. And for the last decade, I've used these experiences to create my unique style in interviewing hundreds of A-list celebrities, newsmakers, comedians, musicians, reality stars, fitness and nutrition experts, best-selling authors, and so much more. So I hope you enjoy this wide variety on my podcast. I hope you'll share and subscribe. And again, thanks for tuning in. This episode of What's Up with Wendy's podcast, for more than 15 years, you know him as the longtime keyboard for the best-selling duo Hall Oates, and also live from Daryl's house. He's got his own solo career, and he's performed with megastars all over the world. And when he was young, he's rubbed elbows with the likes of Peter Frampton, The Who, Alice Cooper, Elton John, and many more. Super music stars. You won't want to miss my sit down with Eliot Lewis. So much to talk to him about. I can't wait. Looking forward. Eliot Lewis up next. You may know my special guest from live from Daryl's house, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist artist. His resume speaks for itself with all the opportunities he has had all over the years, performing on some of the world's largest stages with some of music's biggest names. We'll talk about all that, and we'll talk about him performing at the Ridgefield Playhouse on June 20th. Welcome to my show, Eliot Lewis.
Hey there. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too. I am such a fan. I have read so much about you, and just so many things from my youth came flowing to what I was reading all about you. I want to start by saying, so you're from Norwalk, which is very close to me. So we're so happy to have you, in this area and playing at the Ridgefield Playhouse, which happens to be one of my favorite places of all time.
Yeah, it is a great place.
So when most kids, in the 70s were busy watching the Brady Bunch, I was one of those, and playing like board games and twisters and all this stuff. You were a 13-year-old jamming in your friend's basement. And this is what really took me back, because I have his albums with Peter Frampton.
Yeah, that's a great record.
I think that was one of the first, we all used to buy so many albums back then too. I think that was one of the first albums I ever bought. So when I was reading that about you, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, those were good times. Yeah, my friend that I grew up with, when I started my instrument, my friend started his instrument. I was a drummer originally, and his dad was in the music business. And he took us to see everybody back then. One week it was Alice Cooper, and the next week it was The Who, and the next week is Elton John, and then he became his Peter Frampton's promotion man. So I was sort of, I saw a lot of this stuff. I was exposed to a lot of it really up close and personal. So I was like a kid in the candy store back then. It was really good times.
I was going to say 13 years old while you're rubbing elbows with The Who, Alice Cooper, Elton John. I mean, this is like big deals. Did you realize what a big deal it was?
Oh yeah. These were like rock gods to me. I was just, and I still am. I still sort of have, I think all these years later, I still have that passion that I think I had when I was a teenager. And I think that's why I've been doing it for so long, sort of at the level I'm doing it. I just love it. And I never sort of take it for granted. But it was really amazing. I learned so much from seeing these people and meeting them back then.
I can't even imagine what an experience that was like, especially your love of music. How did your love of music and your exposure to music first begin?
Well, definitely, I was surrounded by it. So my mom was a classical pianist. So she was banging away at the piano 3 or 4 hours a day, working on classical pieces, which would take, they could take months or years to perfect. So I heard a lot of that. And then I have 2 older brothers, and they were both turning me on to all the great music, back in the very late 60s, early 70s. And it was just opened up a world for me. And I discovered the drums when I was about 10 years old, and never looked back. It just, when I look back at it all, it just seems like this incredible journey. But that's where it originally started. And all the stuff back in the early 70s, Todd Rundgren and Stevie Wonder and The Who and Led Zeppelin, all that stuff was sort of really influencing and inspiring me.
So most people know you as the keyboard, but you actually, like you just said, you started off as the drummer.
Yeah, I started as a drummer, and I really drums are still one of the most fun instruments for me to play. And I'm not an active drummer, but I play drums on all my records and CDs and stuff. But at some point, I played drums for about 6 or 7 years, and I really wanted to. I wanted to be a songwriter, so I thought, well, let me pick up the guitar and try to teach myself as much as I can, and I did that for a few years and got fairly far, but then I had an opportunity to play bass in a band. So I picked up the bass, and I was heavily inspired back then by Cheap Trick, one of my favorite bands.
Yes.
So I sort of modeled myself after the bass player in that band and played a multi-string bass. He was playing a 12-string bass, so I took up an 8-string bass. It was
Oh my God.
yeah, unique. So I played bass for years, and then sort of the last instrument I picked up, because I really wanted to be just a complete self-contained songwriter, was keyboards.
That's pretty
And
amazing.
I really should have taken advantage of the fact that my mom was a teacher, and she, I think I had 1 or 2 lessons with her, but back then I just wanted to bang on drums.
Well, look who you were hanging out with too, for God's sake. So you
I
started
know.
writing, I mean, you started writing your own songs when you were, was it 14? Is that right?
I would say a little bit later, probably 16, and that
Okay.
that kind of ties into that I was heading in that way for a few years, but it was really until I discovered Cheap Trick, and I fell in love with them because they were rock and they were pop, and they had some Beatles influence, and I would turn the records over as we did back then and look at the credits, and I saw, oh, this guy Rick Nielsen, this goofy looking guy, wrote
Mm.
most of all their songs. So I thought, wow, if he can do it, maybe I've got a shot. So that was really my first serious step into songwriting, and then I really didn't turn back. And then I kept that songwriting, and then, like I said, when I got into the keyboard world and the technology of the 80s, then I was able to kind of put all those instruments together with some of the technology that was happening in that era, and then eventually got some publishing deals. So songwriting became my main job. Really, I had a publishing deal with Warner Brothers and with Sony
Wow.
for many years. So that became my focus, and kind
So,
of left being in a band behind me. And I was just really on that track of being a songwriter and producer. But then,
mhm.
of course, life throws you many curveballs, and I became a member of the Average White Band, and then immediately got back onto my original track, which was being, a musician that could tour the world.
It's a pretty amazing journey that you've been on. Who and what inspires you to write a song? Because I can't imagine, sitting down. Like, where does it come from? Like, is it an experience? Is it just the moment? What is it? I'm always
It's
fascinated by that because some of the words, like, I guess if you had a heartbreak, you could write about that, or.
Yeah, I mean, it develops over the years. I mean, when you first start your songwriting process, it's really basic, although not for everybody. Todd Rundgren was one of my heroes, and the song "Hello, It's Me" was basically the first song he ever wrote, and to
Mhm,
me, that
mhm.
is just like, oh my God, the guy's a genius.
Wow,
My
right.
first songs were nothing like that, but now the process. It's really I get inspired by things happening around me. They don't always have to be about me too. It's something I can observe, and you just find a way to observe some of these things, or even a phrase can sort of start a song. It
Mm.
can be a phrase or a melody or a concept, and the idea is just to try to capture that. It takes some discipline, and then kind of keep that, putting this into a song form. But after a while, like anything, it becomes easier. The more you do your work at something, the easier it becomes. So, but I look for inspiration in everything, and I don't just write songs about romance and love and heartbreak and all that stuff. I actually am more interested in all the other things going on in life.
Yeah.
Although I do write some romantic songs, but I like to, I like to have freedom to write whatever
Sure.
inspires you.
And how do you sometimes say like I know? Do you know if it's going to be like a hit, or do you get that feeling like this is going to be it?
No, I actually never think that. I think back in the '80s when I had my publishing deals, I was concerned with trying to write a hit song for someone because that was sort of my job back then. But now I don't think about writing a hit. I just want to write a great song, as good of a song as I
Yeah.
can write, and it just let it be what it is. Whether it's got a tiny bit of country in it, or it's more rock, or it's got some soul. To me, it doesn't really matter. I just, whatever comes out and feels right, I just kind of let come out.
I love that. So you're going to be at the Ridgefield Playhouse on June 20th. You can call for tickets 203-438-5795. Celebrate the first day of summer and make Music Day, a celebration of music around the world. Tell us about that. Tell us what it's going to be like. What can we expect? It's exciting. I know everyone can't wait to see you and listen to you.
Oh, I'm so excited about this show because this is really the closest thing to a sort of a hometown show that I've had in a long time. I normally have to travel long distances to do my own shows, and of course with Hall and Oates, I'm touring all over the world, so it'll be fun to play back in that area. Um, my own show at this point consists of, I've put out over the years probably about, I don't know, about 10 of my own releases. So I have quite a bit of music of my own. So I'll play some of that, but I'll also play a ton of music from, artists that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years. So, which is kind of mind blowing to me
Yeah.
when I look back and I go, wow, I worked with all these people. I'm so
So
grateful.
blessed.
So yeah, I'm so blessed. So of course, I'm going to play some Hall and Oates because I'm been with that band been with Daryl and John for about 15 or 16 years now, and I was a member of the Average White Band for many, many years. So I always play a song called "Pick Up the Pieces," probably their most well-known hit. It's a song that's been with me my whole life because I
Oh,
started
wow.
playing that when I was a drummer at 11 years old. So I'm still playing it all these years later. And
I'm
then,
sure some ZZ Top, Cheap Trick.
yeah, exactly. So, I was incredible situation to be on Daryl's show for all of the 10 years and all the episodes. So, yeah, there's some highlights for me. So I play some Cheap Trick, write some ZZ Top, Joe Walsh, some Train, and, some other surprises will come out. Some Todd Rundgren for sure. So I have a lot of material to choose from. So there's something familiar to the audience, also. And these are songs that are special with me that I played with them.
Oh my God, and so special for everybody that everyone can't wait to hear you sing all these songs and take us back, and especially, celebrating the first day of summer, and so exciting. Do you get nervous before a show? Did you ever get nervous? Do you still get nervous? What is it like? And how do you prepare yourself before a show?
I don't get nervous so much, and that's a great question because when I was a kid and I first started on drums and we played in front of people, at schools or whatever, I got very, very nervous. But I thought, wow, I've got to get over this because I'm pretty sure this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But now I don't really get nervous. I get excited, but I just kind of focus on the show and try not to. And I think a lot of performers and artists can relate to this. You don't think too much about what's going on. You just try to get into the moment and enjoy it. Because if you're thinking about what's coming up too much, something will inevitably go wrong. So I find you just want to be in the moment and enjoy yourself. And to me, the connection with a live audience is the best. It's kind of what I live for.
And I think everyone's excited also to get back to life and to get back to a live show and a live audience and
Yeah.
actually, be around people. And this is exciting. actually, you're so excited to be coming here. We're so excited